Good day. How are you, friends? Today I'm going to talk about the embryology of the kidney. And many of you know about the embryology of the kidney, but this must be a sort of brush up exercise. Okay. So before we start, let's go to my whiteboard. So let's see. Now, the embryology, whenever we talk about embryology, we will be talking right from the time of fertilization. So to begin with, during the act of intercourse, what happens is there is one sperm, okay, spermatozoa, which is having a head, mid portion, and a tail piece, which is going to fertilize oocyte. Now, what really happens is in a female, on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle, there is some changes in our hormonal milieu. What happens? A lot of release of LHRH from the hypothalamus with the release of more is of estrogen. So what really happens now? What happens? And let's go to the female reproductive organ. Then you will find that there is a uterus. There is a uterus, and there is something like the vagina. Okay, this is the vagina, this is cervix, then there is the uterus, and then we have the fallopian tubes. Fallopian tube will have one elongated area which is known as the ampulla, where exactly the fertilization takes place. And then you have several finger-like projections like called the fimbria. And ultimately we have the ovaries. So what happens in this phase is there's a lot of cells being popping up. So we'll talk about this later in some other, because it's more to do with gynecology. So one of the oocyte, well, there's a primary oocyte here, and the secondary oocyte really pops out from here and goes to the ampulla. Right now, there were millions of spermatozoa in the ejaculate. Some 200 are able to reach the uterus, and of these, some they go towards the um, uterine tube and they go towards the ampulla. Ultimately, they will be having some of few spermatozoa near secondary. So suppose this is two spermatozoa near the secondary oocyte. Okay, now there are some processes over here which are known as, first of all, is the capacitation and the acrosomal reaction. I'll go to short over here. Let me use my razor to, okay, this is not required right now. We will coming to again. Okay, this is very confusing, but don't get confused. Okay, just don't get confused, right? Okay, my dear friends. Right. So what really happens is, suppose this is the uh, okay, let me tell you. Okay, fine. Say this is the secondary oocyte. Okay, there is a layer. There's a layer over here, and then there's something called the zona pellucida, the inner layer, and then we have the vitelline space. Now, what really happens over here? The first of all, there is some some growth factors from the uterus, which causes the some cholesterol of the acrosomal head, which are more thick, which are pretty thick. They are being released, and this headpiece of the spermatozoa can easily penetrate to this granular layer, the granulosa layer, and it goes near the zona pellucida. Now, the zona pellucida has ZP receptors. Okay, so suppose this spermatozoa will get attached to the ZP receptors, and then what really happens is we have what is known as the acrosomal reaction. So this is capacitation. Next is the acrosomal reaction. With acrosomal reaction, there is some enzymes being released so that the spermatozoa can go easily through the zona pellucida into the perivital vitelline space. Now, this will cause the rest of the receptors, ZP receptors, to get shut down. So no further spermatozoa can go inside the oocyte. Now what happens is this is the female gamete, which becomes a female pronucleus, and ultimately from this headpiece we have the male pronucleus, and they get fertilized to form what is known as the zygote. This is known as the zygote. Now the zygote undergoes lot of divisions, ultimately from two cells, 4 cells, 16 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells, which is known as the morula. And the morula, what happens is this. Now what happens, it was an ampulla. And the ampulla, I said there was a lot of fimbria, and this with fimbria movement, the zygote The zygote, which becomes the morula, now comes to what is known as, let me tell you what is it. Okay. Now, so this is the uterus, this is the tubes, this is the uterus. It's a very cross section. Now it comes from here to the posterior wall near the fundus of the uterus. Okay, so we have what is known as the blastocyst, which is morula, which forms more than 32 cell layer thick. Now the blastocyst gets attached, gets hatched. The one was known as hatching. The blastocyst gets attached to the wall of the uterus, which is known as the decidua, right? And with ultimately this blastocyst goes inside, gets buried into the decidua. Ultimately, what really happens is the blastocyst now will have two components. What are the two components? Blastocyst is basically like it's like a rim of cells. It's like a rim of cells. The inside is basically cystic. Okay, the inside is clear. So there's a rim of cells, and what happens there is elongation of the cells, division of the cells to form more amount of cells inside. What really happens, there are two types, there are two components of this blastocyst. Now what is known as a tropoblast outside, and which is again differentiated into syncytiotropoblast and the cytotrophoblast. And the inside part again divides into what is known as two things. One is known as the epiblast, okay, the epiblast, and the hypoblast. Okay, now what really happens over, the biggest thing is with time, the hypoblast, the epiblast and the hypoblast forms a bilaminar membrane. Now I will be coming over here. Let me come over here so it will be easier. Now this is more or less about the embryology of fertilization, the early stage. Okay, we find now. Let me erase all these things. Right. So we'll come to this later. So what really happens now is, suppose the blastocyst, you have the blastocyst, we have the bilaminar structure, okay, which is the epiblast above and the hypoblast below, okay. And with time, the process known as the gastrulation, what really happens is this bilaminar structure becomes a trilaminar structure. What is a trilaminar structure now? Epiblast. Now there is a cavity. As I said, now the blastocyst is basically a cavity inside and the cells outside. So the one beyond the epiblast is above. The one beyond above the epiblast is known as the amniotic cavity, while the one below the hypoblast is becoming the yolk sac, right? So basically we have the yolk sac over here, we have the amniotic cavity over here, yolk sac cavity over here. It is there is something called the extra embryonic coelom. We're not going into details right now. So what really happens now, my dear friends, is by the method of gastrulation, the bilaminar membrane becomes a trilaminar membrane. Okay, becomes a trilaminar membrane. What is a trilaminar membrane? That is what is known as this epiblast becomes a part of it, becomes the ectoderm. The hypoblast becomes a part of the endoderm, and intermediate layer becomes the mesoderm. Now slowly, if now this is, so we have now there are three plates. We have the yolks, we have the amniotic cavity, then we have the ectoderm, then we have the mesoderm, then the endoderm, then the yolk sac. So it's like this. So think about in the sagittal section, we come to this because now what will happen, there will be some sort of invagination of the embryo. Okay, so once in one direction, the other in the craniocaudal direction. So ultimately what really happens is this goes, this is endoderm and forms the different endodermic structures. The ectoderm will form all this other ectodermic structure, but the mesoderm basically has three components. Okay, mesoderm has three components. So what really happens is this ectoderm will form a pinching like action. Okay, if it all becomes invaginate, so it will form a pinching. It goes like this. This is the ectoderm, this is the mesoderm, and this is the endoderm. So pinching like action will create neuroectoderm in the middle. So Then we have the other, on the other side, we have the mesoderm, above it the ectoderm, and here the endoderm. And the mesoderm will have three components, which is known as, one is known as the paraxial mesoderm, which will form the different cartilages, bones, skin structures. The intermediate mesoderm, which is basically the where the kidney will be formed. Okay, genitourinary system will be formed. And then we have the lateral plate mesoderm, which is again, we have two parts. One is the splanchnic and the somatic forms, which goes the ectoderm and the endoderm. Okay, up to this, I hope you are clear. This is a very rough estimate of, because this is very confusing. I can understand. I also didn't really was aware of it very much during my residency time. So it is no problem if you have any confusion. So we can always come back and revise anytime. So up to this we know. Now what really happens is this intermediate mesoderm will actually form the kidneys. Now this will form the kidneys. So ultimately what really happens is okay, let me take this. So ultimately it happens, it will form again, this will part, it will form, because all these foldings now, this will form a ridge, and from which the genitourinary organs will be starting to form. So if this is a embryo, okay, and this is anterior, this is known as the aorta. This is the aorta. This is known as the gut tube, and say suppose this is known as the intermediate mesoderm. In the intermediate mesoderm, because in the cervical region, so say in the cervical, different somites are there, in the cervical region, thoracolumbar region, the pelvic region. Cervical region, there is a formation of the primitive kidney, which is known as the pronephros. Now, each primitive kidney will have what is known as the mesodermic part, and then there will be a tubular part. So it will send a pronephric duct, go a duct, and finally the duct will come over here, and there is something known as the primitive cloaca at the hind part of the gut tube. Remember, this is the gut tube, and this is the dorsal aorta, and this is what is known as the mesoderm, the intermediate mesoderm. What really happens is this tube, which goes into the cloaca, it gets degenerated. There are some tubules, pronephric tubules, pronephric duct, all and pronephros get degenerated. So there is no existence of pronephros. Ultimately, in the thoracolumbar region, what we have is what we know as the mesonephros. Mesonephros will have again mesonephric tissue. It will have a duct known as a mesonephric duct, which goes to the cloaca. Now this part is actually gone. So if you can understand, this part is actually gone. Okay, so here when you go into the cloaca, and there will be some tubules over here. These are basically primitive forms of the collecting system. Ultimately, what really happens is this is also gone with time. So we don't have the mesonephros, only the tube, the mesonephric tube, they persist. Okay, only the mesonephric tube, they persist. So let me go to the eraser. So this one is also gone, only the mesonephric tube, they persist. So ultimately, what we have is the metanephros. Now, what we are dealing with the metanephros, this is the original kidney, definitive kidney. Again, the same thing, metanephric, there will be some tubules. So what really happens, first of all, is there is a tubercle formation from the distal end of the mesonephric tubule, which is known as the ureteric bud. Now, comes up, and then it, by the process of production of some growth factors, local hormones, then what is known as the reciprocal adaptation, there is formation of this metanephric blastema. Metanephric blastema is known as a metanephric blastema at the end of the ureteric. This is the ureteric bud. This is a mesonephric, gets up from the mesonephric duct. This is the ureteric bud, and it forms a knob of metanephric tissue at its end by as I said, by reciprocal adaptation, and it is known as the again metanephric vesicle. Now, because of some of these ductules or tubules which were there primitively, they will be getting incorporated with the metanephros, the mesonephric tubules. Now what happens is these tubules, as you can understand, the tubules goes and they get attached with the aorta, okay. So think about it, it's very rough, think about it. Now what really happens is, so let me come again, let me erase this, use my eraser, okay. So let me show you. So what really happens now is this ureteric butt, this is a ureteric butt, it has a effect on the metanephric blastema or the metanephric vesicle, which forms a cup-like structure known as the renal corpuscle. The renal corpuscle now will have what is known as, this area junction gets degenerated. Okay, we'll come to renal corpuscle. This junction gets degenerated. So ultimately, it will form the ureter, it will form the distal convoluted tubule, then it will again form the another convoluted portion known as the proximal convoluted tubule. Now the whole picture will come over to this side, ultimately comes to this side. So we have what is known as, from here we have an art. So suppose this is the aorta, we have the arterial supply, and it is formation of a renal corpuscle here. So ultimately what it forms here is a primitive nephron, and the primitive nephron will have a Bowman's capsule, will have the proximal convoluted tubule, we have a distal convoluted tubule, and with time there will be a loop formation which is known as the loop of Henle. So within this renal corpuscle there will be a tuft of blood vessels which is known as the glomerulus. So this is the primitive glomerulus, this is the primitive Bowman space, and becomes a nephron. So ultimately from here you can understand it drains into the collecting tubule, then goes to this forms a part of the collecting system, and ultimately it goes to the ureter. And what really happens is, now we come to the development of the urinary bladder. So let me change my color in that case, and ultimately what we have is a cloaca. Now with time, cloaca, there will be a formation. The cloaca, what really happens is, cloaca is the distal end of the anal canal, rectum, and there also is a part of the anal canal also. And then there was the ureter, then there is this mesonephric duct which goes into it. Now there will be a production of a septum, okay, that divides the primitive cloaca to an anal canal and the primitive urogenital sinus. Over here there will be one outlet tube which is known as the allantois, which later becomes the urachus, which later will get obliterated to form the medial umbilical ligament. Understand? So here, so we have this mesonephric duct which goes into the bladder. Okay, this is the bladder, and ultimately the proximal part will form the bladder, and the distal part will form the urethra. So this is in very nutshell the embryology of the renal system. Okay, so if you have any questions, I will take the questions in the comment section. Do comment, and in the meantime, if you have any issues to look for other courses, you can come and to my website link I will be giving below. Subscribe to my channel, like the video, and share it, and do comment. Okay, till then, bye bye.